Welcome to Intermediate Algebra, Unit 3, Lesson 3. There are actually 4 videos in this lesson, and this is the first of the 4, and it's where we will learn about slope-intercept form of a line. So our lesson objectives are to be able to use slope-intercept form of a line in 2 directions. First, if you're given the slope-intercept form, you should be able to identify the slope and identify the y-intercept. You'll be able to pick those 2 things out of a line. Then, if you're given the slope and the y-intercept, you need to be able to find the equation of the line if you're given the slope and the y-intercept. So once you learn the form, really both of these skills fall out of that. So, what is slope-intercept form of a line? It's a pattern. It's a pattern you have to recognize. It's a pattern in the form of an equation. Slope-intercept form of a line is in the pattern y equals mx plus b. Now, the 2 variables in your equation are the y and the x. Every line has this form. Every line will have a y and an x. What makes one line different from another is whatever's in front of the x is the slope, m, and whatever's at the end is the y-intercept, and that changes where the line is graphed. That changes the results you get for y when you put a number in for x. So m represents the slope. Every single time the number in front of the x in the equation of a line, when it's in this form where you're solved for y equals some number times x plus b, the number in front of the x is the slope, and the b at the end is the y-intercept. That is on a graph. The y-intercept would be, would be the value at which the line crosses the y-axis, where it intercepts the axis. You must memorize this. I cannot emphasize that enough. You must memorize it, because this form tells you about the characteristics of a line. So how do we find slope and intercept if we're given a graph? So here is a graph, and it is a line. It's clearly a line, as you can see. And well, the y-intercept is actually pretty easy. It's this value here where I cross the y-axis. So the y-intercept is labeled b in my equation. So b is 4 for this one. Each line here seems to be worth 1 because it goes from 0 to 5, and there's 4 tick marks in between. Now, the slope is a little trickier. Slope is rise over run. So we can start there, and let's find some other nice point on the line. So I've got this point, and I've got this point down here that nicely crosses the grid. And it looks like I have to go down 4, 5, 6 units. So my rise is -6 because I went down. And I have to go over 2. So this is the rise, and this is the run. The run is 2 to the right, so that's going to be positive. Well, slope is rise over run, so I do -6 divided by 2. That gives me a -3. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. The signs don't match and you're multiplying and dividing, you get a negative answer. So that is my m. So that's the intercept, and that's the slope. In order to put that into the equation of the line, I do y equals -3x plus 4. The 4 comes from here. The -3 comes from this rise over run that I did. So that was a graph, and that's what the slope and the intercept mean on a graph. Now, what if you're given this equation? Now, in order to be in slope-intercept form, the y must be isolated. You'll have y equals some number times x plus 5. The number in front of the x is always the slope, and that includes the sign of that number. And the number added or subtracted at the end is the y-intercept. And that number is either positive or negative. In this case, it's positive. So I get m equals -3, and that's my slope is m. And b equals, in this case, positive 5. You don't have to write the positive, but that is my y-intercept. So in our next example, we want to know the slope of the line. This might be a little bit confusing because you feel like you're missing a number, but y is isolated by itself. There's a number in front of x, but there's nothing at the end. Sometimes in math, when something's not written, it's a 0. Sometimes it's a 1, and in one case I can think of it's a 2. But in this case, it just means plus 0. If you don't have anything, you added 0. So the slope of the line, that was all you were asked to find. That's always the number in front of the x. So the slope is 4/5. For the third example, now we have a graph, and we did this earlier. We have a graph. We need to find the slope and the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is easier to find, and this graph is a little bit tricky to see. It's kind of small, but there's my y-intercept right here, and it looks like it's at 2. It's at a height of 2. And they don't always have to be positive. You can be below the x-axis also. And this again looks like it should have a negative slope because it's tilted downward. It looks like I have another point here. Now you can do this from the graph, or you can simply say, okay, I have the point 0, 2, that's my y-intercept, and then the other point I can see that, another point I can see that's on the graph, and I don't have to use that one. I could use this one down here, but I'm going to use this point and this point. That's at 2, 0, so I can see that my change in y is 2 minus 0, and my change in x is 0 minus 2, so I get a -1 for a slope. So my slope is -1, and I plug those into y equals mx plus b. I get y equals -1 because it's times x, and you don't have to write the 1. We often just write -x there. That's a case where an unwritten number is not understood to be 1, plus 2. So typically you would see this in a textbook as y equals -x plus 2. So that's how you take a graph and find the equation of the line you're shown. If you know this form, that is a very simple process. So I want you to try each of these. Find the slope of each line. You're given four examples that are an equation and one is a graph. Shut the video off. Leave this screen up, stop it here, or look at your guided notes that you printed out, and try these and then come back and see the answers. Okay, here are the answers to those finding the slope, and this is not the end of the video. If you had trouble getting these or disagree with these, please let me know. Email me or take these problems to the tutoring lab and ask them to help you with them, or see me in an office hour. But let's move on now. So now what if we're just told the slope and the y-intercept? This isn't that different from using the graph. You're given the slope, you replace the m gets replaced with the slope, and if when you're told the y-intercept, that gives you the b. So find the equation of the line with slope -6 and y-intercept 10. Here is your slope. -6, and here is your y-intercept, 10. Y equals -6x plus 10 is the line. Do not make that more difficult than it is. It's not that difficult. Now, you try it. Find the equation of the line whose slope is 2 and y-intercept is -4. And then find the equation of the line shown in the graph by picking the slope and y-intercept off the graph. Stop the video, try these, and then come back and check your solutions. Okay, you're back. Here are the answers to those two problems. If you had trouble getting them, please let me know. And I think we are at the end. Yes, we are. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Math Teacher to Go for Intermediate Algebra.